Hi, this is Chris Cook from 3M Commercial Graphics. Today I'd like to share with you some simple tips on trimming. Now when we're doing a wrap, trimming is a very important part of the process because we're creating the edge of our panel and that is really important to make sure that not only does that edge look good, but also that that edge of the vinyl is really solidly adhered to the substrate. So trimming is a very important step in the process. It's certainly one of the very first things I'll look at when I'm assessing the quality of a wrap is how is the trimming? Do I see nice, clean, smoothly cut edges where the film is very well adhered to the substrate? Okay, now the first thing I want to talk about is where we have the film coming up to, say, like a window moulding here. So you see that the top of the panel here we've got that rubber moulding. They can be quite difficult to get a very nice neat trim there so that you're not seeing any paint coming through. Ideally you actually take it out, but if for some reason you do need to leave it in, there are some simple ways you can get a neater trim. The first thing that you want to do is make sure that you've actually got the film right into that corner, and the best way to do that is to actually release the film from the moulding so it's not actually bridged across the gap there, and then with your squeegee make sure that you're really pushing the film right into that corner really firmly, just using a little bit of tension on the film just to keep it off the moulding so it's not bridging across that little gap. So push it really in there firmly, and you can see there now we've got a very defined line where we need to put our trim. Okay, now that we've got the film pushed right into that corner, we now need to put the trim in. But what you'll find can be quite difficult to actually run your blade along that edge and get the cut exactly where you need it to. So one thing that you can do to make that a little bit easier is actually use a squeegee or any other sort of thin piece of plastic as a guide. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my squeegee and place it into that corner and use it as a guide for my blade. So put the squeegee firmly into that corner and then just lay the blade on the edge of the squeegee, and then holding the two together we can actually run the squeegee along that moulding, guiding our knife along the way to get a nice straight cut. Okay, so now when we pull our excess film away, we should find that we've got a nice smooth edge running really nicely in parallel with our moulding. Okay, next tip is just with regard to when we're trimming out, say, gap between the door and guard here, and how you can use the angle of your blade to control exactly where you're putting the trim. If you have a look at this area here, you'll notice that if I have my blade and angle it towards the door panel, I'll actually trim close to the door panel. So you can see that the trim there is going in very close to the edge of the door. But if I angle my blade in the other direction, so actually angle it towards the guard, you'll see that the trim is going in almost down the center of the gap. So just simply by controlling the angle of your blade, you can control how far from that edge you're trimming. To trim close to the edge, angle the blade towards that edge. To cut away from the edge, angle your blade away from the edge. Okay, so the third tip is just around how to finish, say, the underneath edge of the bonnet. So here we've wrapped the bonnet here in the matte black, and we've worked the film around underneath the edge here. So we've wrapped it around our corner here and we've come well inside the panel here. And now what we're going to need to do is put a nice, clean, neat trim down that edge. And it can be kind of difficult to get a nice straight cut. So what you can do is actually use your finger beside your blade to actually, what I call, gap the blade. You can actually run your finger down that edge, holding the blade against the side of your finger to get a nice, smooth, constant thickness of cut down that edge. So I'm just using that finger to guide, trim down that edge to get that nice cut parallel with my edge. Okay, so now when we pull away the excess film, what we should find is that we've got a nice, smooth, straight cut, again that's running nicely parallel with our edge. Okay, so there's just a couple of tips on the trimming part of the wrap process. Trimming is something you really do need to practice. It does determine how good the wrap looks and also how long it's going to last, because you are literally creating that edge of each panel. So practice your trimming to create those nice, smooth, clean edges. Anyway, this has been Chris Cook from 3M Commercial Graphics. Thanks for watching, and as usual, if you have any feedback or suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you.